All right. How you doing, guys? So this is going to be uh, a section in one of my larger stories that I'm working on at the moment. This is sort of like one of my favorite parts in the story. It has to do with essentially an encounter with a high priestess sort of archetype character. Um, it's something that uh, is interesting. I've had some strange synchronicities in the time leading up to this particular section. At first, during my meditation, I had this vision of a high priestess sort of figure. It was a woman. She was wearing a crucifix around her neck. That's sort of like why I'm wearing a crucifix now, because it sort of like signifies my sort of bond with the part of my anima that is like the spiritual high priestess. Anyhow, I'll show you a picture here of the image that I had. Let's see if I can put it in front of the camera. This was I drew it. This was the high priestess. Let's see, this other one was an earlier vision I had of my anima. Anyhow, so high priestess vision. Sometimes I dabble with tarot. And, well, I'm not gonna, sort through that. But the strange thing is very shortly after I had that vision, I had you know, I don't really know anything about tarot, to be honest. I just sort of I know that like Carl Jung used it sometimes, and then the way he used it was essentially you just sort of like pick a card, and then you like look at it and you like decide, okay, what is like what does this represent in my unconscious. And then like that's sort of another way of, it's like a novel. The unconscious likes novelty and sort of the things where it's more mystical and um less logic oriented, where you're going on feel, and you're doing something that's in a realm where you're not fully, where you don't have the training and the habits that dictate your normal sort of behavior. So you're like sort of stepping outside of your normal comfort zone and what you think is possible, and then you just sort of allow your feelings to guide you, essentially. And that's something that is not being done very much in today's world enough. We need to be a little bit more open to experience in the novel, the unusual. We need to be less concerned about like, is this scientific? Is this is this factual? Because there's a whole another world that lives inside of us that has nothing to do with any of that. And the only way we can really access it is by just sort of allowing ourselves to like playfully engage with imagination. Anyhow, so before I turn into a long monologue about that, I will start reading my story. Hope you guys enjoy. This is about halfway through. It's about a 70-page manuscript now, but this is one section of it. All right, so the story is called "The Coyote-man Drifts in Darkness Land," and this chapter is called "The Divine Feminine." With the hollowness of this world and the heart beating in his chest the only thing to keep him company, the Coyote-man continued to wander through the empty streets, the dark sky crowded by empty buildings and towers. They loomed like distant relatives, indifferent to his existence. This was their world, not his. And to them he was nothing more than a strange guest wandering through their empty streets. They would not be inconvenienced by his presence. Not really knowing where he wanted to go anymore, he continued onward, his feet largely taking the lead as they carried him and his heavy heart, wherever it was that they wanted. His mind was quietly humming, observing from the background. His eyes looked distant at some place beyond all this darkness. The Coyote-man wandered into a plaza. The wider space here felt better, not as uncomfortably crowded by the many buildings. Near the end at the center sat an old statue. It was that of a high priestess. She looked wise and beautiful, both very ancient and yet very young. An unusually beautiful icon in this otherwise gray world lacking in aesthetic charm. The Coyote-man was strongly compelled to step closer to her. He felt ashamed and embarrassed that his burdens made him too unclean for him to be in her presence, but something about her seemed to know him well, unconcerned. There was something living about this statue. It was not a mere object. It invited him to come closer. The Coyote-man stood in front of the towering symbol of the divine feminine. He bowed his head, and a great feeling of reverence swam through him. He kissed her feet, and as he did, he was taken to a place beyond. Now he was surrounded by a sea of darkness, but in the distance, like a radiant gem, there shone a green garden, which generated a light of its own. An unknown yet beautiful mystery. The contrast of the darkness surrounding made it all the more precious. The two realities here, a strange juxtaposition, and yet they fit together perfectly. The pitch-black sea, impossibly vast and frightening, and a lovely light within it, totally unconcerned, at home here, somewhere at the center of the otherwise opaque void. The two could not be more different, and yet it was unmistakable that they loved each other profoundly. Darkness and light in an ancient romance. The dark surroundings making the beautiful all the more so. The Coyote-man's eyes became misty, his heart filled with love. A ray of light traveled directly through the Coyote-man. As it pierced him, the light invited him to come. He stepped closer through the darkness until he was standing just outside the mystical grove. Here at the center was a little cottage, a lovely little home. There were many colorful flowers, petals of red, blue, and yellow. Sunflowers stood tall, happy and proud of their existence, like little children that knew only goodness. The Coyote-man felt the sunflowers emanated a friendly greeting at his presence. Smoke was coming from the chimney. There was a light in the window. A jolly-looking lady wearing a velvet purple cloak could be seen inside. She lifted her head, and when she glanced outside and noticed the Coyote-man was standing there alone, mesmerized by her beautiful garden, her jolly expression turned into one of compassion and concern. She opened the door and invited the Coyote-man inside, calling out to him, "Come quick. You look like you need a break." As he stepped inside, she invited him to sit at her table. She said, "You look cold," and put a warm blanket around him, then gave him a warm bowl of soup. The Coyote-man had forgotten how hungry he was, and realized in that moment how hungry he had been. His body had not been on his mind. Self-care and the thought of food had not occurred to him. After he had eaten the warm soup, it revitalized and strengthened him. As he looked up, he noticed that around the kind woman's neck she wore a gold chain, from which hung a beautiful golden gem. In it were many facets. When he looked upon them within their glowing surfaces that carried many worlds and realities, it stirred the Coyote Man's heart, resonating with a feeling of many hopes and dreams. Looking at the gem, the Coyote Man felt a calm sensation begin to settle him. A lovely spirit emanated from this woman, giving fresh life to all that was within range of her little cottage. With kindly eyes, she looked upon the Coyote Man. They seemed to peer deep inside of him without fear. Her eyes alone seemed to say, I know you. I know what is in your heart. I know your burdens, and it doesn't matter where you've been. You are loved here. She then spoke. You look like someone on an important journey. I haven't seen anyone else out here for a very long time, but I've been waiting for someone. Someone like you, I think. Yes, I think it's true. You have come to this land like I have seen in my visions long ago. I have lived a long time, you see. Waited a long time, and now you're here standing in front of me. And it brings a smile to my face to finally meet you in person. And yet you look very sad and tired. You carry a deep burden, I know. And yet you look very determined. You are a very rare and profound creature of determination, very pure and rich in its essence. But you also look like you don't know quite where you're going. Yes, I can see that twisted maze inside of you, caught between nothingness and something profoundly uncomfortable. And yet there is something beautiful hidden deep within these manifolds. Tell me, Coyote Man, what is it that you hope to find? The Coyote Man thought about it for a while and then replied, I don't want to go on pretending that I am someone that I'm not. I don't want to lie anymore, but I don't know the truth. How can someone not know the truth and not be a liar? I want somebody to say, yes, I am here for you. I will be with you through all of it. Someone who can hold me softly in the arms of truth. Someone truly beautiful. Somebody that recognizes me and understands better who I am, better than I can. Alone, I feel that I am blind, and yet the darkness here is also beautiful. The truth is, I love something about this feeling of desperation, this agony. I keep going deeper and deeper into this darkness. There's something terribly enchanting about it. Like somewhere within it is some light gently reaching out through the darkness. But I don't see a light. All I see is darkness. But I feel the light and its truth shining inside. I fear that the truth of it is its existence. Yet its physical absence will end up driving me into insanity. The kind woman nodded her head and said, I understand. Tell me more about that fear. The Coyote Man continued, I am afraid. I have been caught in a cage of illusions. I fear I carry a poison that will slowly but surely kill me one day. I have bitter memories, shadows from the past that haunt me, like I've signed too many covert contracts, and the collectors keep haunting me. They want me to continue to play their games and perjure myself, so that I will believe some lie about myself to keep myself trapped in their prison. I know that I was once a fool in some former life, and made myself a liar to please these other people. I had a strong gnawing feeling and deep-seated fear that I had no real value to anyone. I had become afraid that pleasant things would always come to an end, and could not be relied upon. I was a liar, and in this maze I built, I lost my faith. I was afraid that wherever I was afraid that whatever is left in this dark world wants to drain me, humiliate me, dishearten me completely, remind me about how ugly I am. My real self has been degraded and trashed. I am afraid I wasn't made for this world, and that it wants something different than what I can give it, and that my rewards will only be tokens that can't be spent. I don't want to die out there somewhere alone in the darkness, with no voice left, yet a terrible urge to scream. Am I simply a joke to these shadows left in this world? I'm not sure if I'm running to something or away from something, or if I'm actually just standing still as the world shifts beneath my feet. Again, the kind woman smiled and said, I understand. You don't have to say anything more. Now listen for a moment. You want to say yes to something, but you don't know what it is. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. You carry the weight of a hero. It's okay, whatever you think of yourself, or whatever the shadows out there think. It really doesn't matter. You are what you are, whether you know what that is or not. You might think yourself a coward or a liar, something small. Someone else may call you that. And maybe it's even true for a brief moment. But that doesn't change who you really are. Does anyone ever truly know what makes them who they are, what they are? The truth is, it doesn't matter whether we know it or not. Our purpose, our place, our design, it simply is, yes? A genius may think himself a fool. He may do foolish things. But that does not make him a fool. It only disguises the truth. What we are is not defined by what we do. What we do comes from what we are, and what we are truly is, beyond what we can know. One cannot know. One can only catch a glimpse. The imagination can paint many pictures, both terrible and beautiful, but it cannot tell us what truly is. And what is beyond perception, beyond simple understanding. The true hero, he is so much more than he could ever be in one lifetime. And that, my Coyote-man, is true about you as well. You will do things, and things will unfold as they always do. Don't judge things by how they appear as separate pieces, but how they all fit together. You must become an investigator. Make your mind open to the evidence. Allow nothing to compete with your attention, so that you can see everything and how it fits together. Nothing as it stands alone means anything. It's only when you've taken 1,000 different pictures of the same scene that it truly begins to reveal some small part of its greater secrets. You have what you want, Coyote-man. The only thing standing in your way is seeing that you do. Take a look at your secrets and ask them what they want. Ask them to show you. Think about the meaning. Let it reveal itself to you. And don't act too hastily. And remember this. And knowledge and certainty might have the power to lighten your heart, but you can choose to be equally light without it. Unburden your heart. Allow yourself to be light. You do not have to know in order to be light. Allow yourself to be light without really knowing anything. I know that you want to know, but remember that knowing is not required. It is a great challenge to not know and to choose to be light regardless. To be truly open, let go of trying to understand. Instead, see what your eyes are truly telling you in every moment. Treat every step like it's the first one. Many heroes don't make it to the place they've seen in their dreams. But a hero's place is always on the road to where his heart is leading him. And in some small way, he brings us all closer to where we need to be. by remaining firmly pointed in the direction of his destination. The hero may have the light, but no one to shine it back on him. He may not know himself, or his own name, or his role in the great work in which he partakes. But I know you, Coyote-man, and you bring a smile to my face. What a hero may find most terrible about himself and difficult to manage, that may be his greatest gift, and his greatest purity and beauty. Why should a gift from the great powers be easy for a mortal to handle? The hero may not know himself until his job is done, and even then he may not know his own name. It only matters that something greater than him recognizes who he is and what he has achieved. Only a being far greater than the hero can give him his name. And even when the soul of a great hero has reached a light far greater than his own and is surrounded by it, is it not enough that the light envelops him? When he's reached that moment, the question of who or what becomes irrelevant. What matters is not who he is or where he's been, but he is in the light and no longer in darkness. In the darkness he may shine brightly on those around him, but these dark ones may not recognize him. For those who are asleep will only see him as another dream. But he is light, and that does not change. And that, my dear Coyote-man, is what you are. You are a light. Keep on shining. The kind woman smiled knowingly at the Coyote-man. He felt her eyes touch his soul, and then he knew she was telling the truth. No matter how damned he was, there was a light within him, and even though it was cast on things in darkness, it was this light that was shining that mattered, not the darkness. And within that light, this world would show him exactly what he needed to see, teach him exactly what he needed to know. For light is the giver of vision, and vision is the beginning of understanding and wisdom. And then he felt a deep sense of acceptance, and his eyes grew very heavy, and he fell into a deep and silent slumber. He slept peacefully that night, next to the fire of the hearth in the kind woman's cottage. In the morning he knew it was time to continue, but before he left, the kind woman embraced him and kissed him on the forehead. And for the first time since he had started this journey in this dark world, the Coyote-man smiled. He stepped out of the cottage with a newfound confidence, and then he was back at the feet of the statue of the divine priestess. Beyond her was a grand entrance to a large train station. He walked up the stairs and through its arches that stood as a proud monument for all those travelers who once passed through them on their way to different and interesting new lands. All right, so that concludes that part of my Coyote-man story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I still have to, it's a long manuscript, so I have to, and there's still sections that I'm working on. This is, in doing this writing, I'm starting to, sort of like discover my own purpose in life, and doing these YouTube videos. I don't really care how many people watch them. It brings great joy to my heart. I feel like I'm growing as a human being. I feel a lot of energy moving through me every time I, do something, and put it on the internet, something that I would be uncomfortable or would have been uncomfortable to share with people in the past. This is sort of like my way of, connecting with the universe and putting that energy out there and, sort of like showing the world who I am. So, this story was, profoundly meaningful to me. I hope it resonates with a few of you out there. I hope it finds some people out there, who, when they hear it, maybe brightens their day a little bit, or gives them some insight into how to approach the world a little bit differently, maybe a little bit less rigid in their thinking, and a little bit less, overly dependent on the logic portions of their brain. And, my main message, is essentially, going forward in life, we are given exactly what we need to see. The pain that we feel inside, we should not try to avoid it by going into our heads and overthinking it. We should be with the pain, and allow it to for us to reveal its meaning, because pain is there. It is pain because we avert our eyes from it. The more we pay attention and allow the pain, the more it begins to reveal that there's a bliss underneath of it. For example, like if this is a physical example, but it also is true for emotions. So like, yesterday I hit my head very hard, and it was, it shocked me and it was very painful for me in the moment, and I felt a bit humiliated and stupid, and like somehow I felt, like we take it personal. We're taught to take it personal when we're injured, even though, I was injured by my own stupidity. But, so what I did, I just, I was quiet and I paid attention to it. And as I paid attention to it with, love and care, the way like a mother would, hug and embrace a child that had, hurt itself, that transformed the pain into something very pleasant and beautiful, just by being with it. So anyway, that I think is a very important thing to understand. Like pain is, I don't know if you meditate, pain can be a mantra, and the mantra, by staying with it, it takes you into the transcendent. And that is pretty much true about all feelings. All feelings can take us to the transcendent, to bliss anyhow. So I won't, continue going on and on. I think, I've covered everything that I wanted to cover for this video. Anyway, it's been a great joy. See you guys soon.